Prime Minister of Sint Maarten, Dr. Luc Mercelina's New Year Address 2026. Dutch Ombudsman raises alarm over conditions of undocumented migrants on Bonaire. With strike inside Venezuela, US increases pressure on Maduro regime. From the island, Sint Maarten, this is SXM Daily News for December 31st, 2025. A new year that invites reflection, but more importantly, it causes action. The year we write us constant our resilience. We confronted economic pressure, rising costs of living, energy challenges, and the very rare effects of climate change on small island states like ours, said Prime Minister Dr. Luc Mercelina of Sint Maarten in his New Year Address 2026.
Fellow citizens of Sint Maarten, as we step into 2026, I extend warm wishes of health, strength, and renewed hope to every household across our island and to all Sint Maarteners abroad who carry this country in their hearts. A new year always invites reflection, but more importantly, it calls us to action. The year behind us tested our resilience. We confronted economic pressure, rising costs of living, energy challenges, and the very real effects of climate change on small island states like ours. Yet, time and again, the people of Sint Maarten proved that we do not bend, we build. In 2025, we laid foundations for greater economic stability, for responsible governance, for energy stability, and for a fairer future where growth must serve people, not the other way around. But 2026 must be the year we move decisively from plans to progress. This year, my government remains focused on strengthening our economy while protecting the most vulnerable, advancing sustainable and looking further at renewable energy solutions, improving public services with accountability and transparency, investing in our youth, our educators, our workforce, and of course, ensuring that development is resilient, inclusive, and truly reflective of our island's reality. We will continue advocating firmly and responsibly for fair international treatment of small island nations like Sint Maarten, especially where vulnerability is not measured by GDP alone, but by exposure, resilience, and capacity. To our entrepreneurs, civil servants, healthcare workers, teachers, firefighters, ambulance department staff, police officer, and every citizen doing their part, you are the backbone of this nation. Your contribution matters, and your government hears you. Let us be clear. The future of Sint Maarten will not be shaped by division, cynicism, or short-term thinking. It will be shaped by unity, discipline, and collective responsibility. In 2026, let us recommit ourselves to respectful dialogue, strong institutions, community over self, and a shared vision of a Sint Maarten that works for all. This is our home, this is our responsibility, and this is our moment. May 2026 bring renewed faith in ourselves, confidence in our direction, and pride in the nation we are building together. From my family to yours, I wish you a safe, prosperous, and purpose-driven new year. God bless you, and God bless Sint Maarten.
St. Martin-born pilot Piyush Tejwani was recognized on Tuesday, December 30th, 2025, during a celebratory welcome water salute at Princess Juliana International Airport, PJIA, following his inaugural flight to the island as a commercial airline pilot. Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, Grisha Haliger Martin, was present for the event, along with Member of Parliament, MP, Viren Kotai, PJIA officials, two St. Martin Tourism Bureau, STB, representatives, and Tejwani's father. The recognition from the government to Tejwani stated, "Congratulations and welcome home, Mr. Piyush Tejwani, in recognition of his inaugural flight to St. Martin as a commercial airline pilot serving as first officer on United Airlines flight UA346 on December 30th, a proud milestone for our island, an inspiration to our youth and proof that global dreams can take flight from right here at home." As 2025 draws to a close, Member of Parliament Omar E.C. Otley is reflecting on a year defined by purposeful legislative work, persistent advocacy, and unwavering dedication to the people of St. Martin, demonstrating that meaningful impact can be made from the legislative branch, even while in opposition. Throughout the year, MP Otley remained focused on addressing critical challenges affecting the people, through a solution-oriented approach aimed at providing government with the tools needed to execute change for the people. Among his key legislative actions in 2025, MP Otley submitted a Profit Tax Ordinance Amendment to the Social Economic Council, SER, aimed at reducing profit tax in a phased approach, presented a draft amendment to the National Ordinance regulating admittance to and expulsion from St. Martin, LTU, seeking to secure rights and protections for children born in St. Martin who are undocumented. Now in the final stages of the legislative trajectory, awaiting a follow-up meeting in Parliament. Co-presented amendments to the 2025 national budget. Presented a motion for a fair and just early release policy at the Point Blanche House of Detention, promoting rehabilitation and human dignity, pending action by the Minister of Justice. Presented a motion to reduce fuel prices, recognizing the ongoing cost of living pressures faced by residents, with government follow-through still pending. Submitted a ministerial regulation to the Minister of TET, proposing sustainable reductions to GB costs for all consumers, reinforcing the need for long-term energy affordability. Presented the GB relief petition to Parliament, giving voice to public concern over escalating utility costs, now awaiting action by Parliament's Petition Committee. Advocated successfully for vulnerable families during the holiday season, writing to government and NV GB to suspend electricity disconnections, an appeal that received a positive response. Hosted the third annual Christmas Give Back, bringing joy and tangible support to hundreds of children and families across the community. As we step into this new year, let us move forward together with optimism, determination, and faith in what we can achieve as one people. I remain honored by your trust and encouraged by your strength. May the new year bring peace to our homes, stability to our economy, and progress to our nation. Happy New Year, St. Martin. Minister of Defense Ruben Brekelmans will visit the Caribbean part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands from Monday, January 5th to Thursday, January 8th. This is a regular working visit to the Caribbean islands, countries of Aruba, St. Martin, Curaçao, and Bonaire. The minister will visit the deployed defense units and will receive an explanation of their tasks in the region. On Monday, January 5th, the minister will begin the working visit at the Marine Corps Barracks Savaneta on Aruba. A visit to the Marine Corps detachment on St. Martin will follow on Tuesday, and Naval Base Pereira on Curaçao is scheduled for Wednesday. On Thursday, January 8th, after a visit to the station ship HNLMS Groningen, the Minister will conclude the working visit with the Royal Navy. In addition to visiting various defence units, Minister Breckelmans will speak with the governors, prime ministers, and the lieutenant governors of the Caribbean islands countries. This includes, amongst other things, attention to the current situation in the Caribbean region, joint priorities, and mutual cooperation.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
Willemstad, Dutch National Ombudsman. Reinier van Zutphen has called for urgent attention to the situation of undocumented migrants on Bonaire, warning that many live in vulnerable conditions marked by limited access to healthcare, labor exploitation, and excessive housing costs. In a letter addressed to Minister of Asylum and Migration David Van Wiel, Van Zutphen links the situation on Bonaire directly to the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Venezuela. According to the Ombudsman, the country's poor human rights, economic and social conditions have forced at least 7.3 million people to flee in recent years, with some seeking refuge in the Caribbean parts of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Van Zutphen estimates that between 700 and 1,000 undocumented migrants currently reside on Bonaire. Many of them work in sectors such as construction, hospitality, hotels, and prostitution. Because they lack residence permits and health insurance, access to medical care is difficult. While emergency and essential care is provided, migrants are often left with bills they are unable to pay. Follow-up care, he notes, largely depends on the voluntary efforts of one or two general practitioners. The Ombudsman further warns that undocumented migrants are highly dependent on their employers for income and working conditions, making them vulnerable to exploitation. Reported abuses include long working hours, unpaid or partially paid wages, and very low hourly rates. Housing conditions are another concern, with migrants frequently charged excessively high rents. According to Van Zutphen, migrants on Bonaire also lack access to clear and accessible information about their rights and obligations. They are not eligible for free legal aid and have few avenues for assistance when problems arise. In practice, he says, they can only turn to Caritas, a church-based aid organization that offers basic support, such as food, clothing, and a listening ear. we welcome you more to DCOM Special of the SCDF Launches Carnival 55 Pageant Season 2026.
Contestant number 2 for the junior.
Welcome you tonight to this special event, and I would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
And her number is contestant number 4. And ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome your contestant number 3, Miss
11 years ago, on September 12, 2014, the world stopped spinning because I, Kayla Fontanelle, had officially arrived. Hi everyone, I'm 11 years old, a proud student at St. Dominic Primary School. I am the daughter of Agneta and Kiran. I have 2 big brothers and 2 little sisters, which one of them already thinks she's the boss of everything. I'm a little shy, and that's exactly why I joined this pageant. It's already helping me become more braver and more confident. I was born right here in St. Martin, where I proudly raised the St. Martin flag. I also raised the Netherlands flag because that's part of my family heritage too. I love going to the beach, eating ice cream, and trying fun creative hairstyles. Fun fact, my favorite subject is math. I find it easy. However, one day I want to be a cosmetologist to make people feel just as beautiful and confident as I do tonight. I want to say thank you to everyone who believes in me and is supporting me. It really means so much. So to you, the amazing audience, let's cheer for every girl tonight. Because even if you have a favorite, we all deserve to feel the love. So to my new sisters standing with me here tonight, let's shine, laugh, and cheer for each other. Crowns are nice, but the friendships we make, that's the real prize.
And your contestant number 1, ladies and gentlemen. Starting it off on a high note, she has the responsibility to make sure that the show starts on a high note. Another round of applause for me, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ishira Matamutu, your Carnival Princess number 1, and it's such a joy to be here with you tonight. This year, we celebrate 55 years of Carnival culture. That's 55 years of music, food, fun, and togetherness. Carnival is not just a festival. It's who we are as the Martin people. The rhythm in our hearts, the laughter in our streets, and the sparkle that brings our eye into life every year. So tonight, as we honor the past, enjoy the present, and dance toward the future. Let's remember to celebrate with love, pride, and plenty of vibes. Looking for more of this little island princess? Make sure to come out and support me on March 28, 2026 as I sparkle, shine, and celebrate 55 years of Carnival culture. Because together, we can make St. Martin the greatest festival in the Caribbean.
The Dutch customs authorities seized a record haul of 60 tons of cannabis in 2025, over 4 times as much as in 2024, when 14.5 tons were intercepted. Most of the cannabis was found in the port of Rotterdam, but Schiphol Airport is becoming increasingly popular with smugglers, customs inspectors said. A large part of the cannabis haul came from the United States, Canada, and Thailand, and was meant for distribution to other European countries. Customs in Germany, Belgium, and Spain also confiscated more cannabis than in earlier years. According to the inspectors, smugglers are not even bothering to hide the drugs, piling them onto pallets in boxes instead of hiding them among other goods. The customs office said it will increase measures against the influx of cannabis, such as more extensive controls and better cooperation with the authorities in the countries of origin. More news from Willemstad. The year 2025 is drawing to a close without an answer to a question that directly affects thousands of senior citizens. Will the General Old Age Insurance, AOV, finally be indexed by law or not? Despite sustained political and social attention, the AOV dossier remains unresolved. Instead of a decision, the year ends once again with postponement, according to former minister and political commentator Stanley Bodok. Bodok notes the irony that the AOV was historically a symbol of political resolve. The scheme was introduced in the early 1960s, at a time when protecting the elderly was seen as a core responsibility of government. Political differences were bridged to legally anchor social security. 6 decades later, that sense of inevitability has faded. The AOV remains a subject of debate, but not of decisive policy-making. Throughout 2025, the AOV featured prominently on the public agenda. Loss of purchasing power, rising living costs, and the absence of statutory indexation were recurring themes in political and societal discussions. Yet, according to Bodok, a coherent political course failed to materialize. Policy intentions were discussed, but not concluded, while the central question, whether the government is complying with the existing legal obligation to index the AOV, remained unanswered.
Now for the weather forecast, today through Thursday midday. Fair to partly cloudy with isolated showers possible. Surface winds, today through Thursday midday, easterly to southeasterly with a light to gentle breeze at 4 to 12 state of the sea. Slight waves or swells, 2 to 4 feet outlook through Friday midday. Partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy with isolated showers. And now your 3-day forecast.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurance.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurance.
For many Caribbean Americans and Caribbean nationals living in the United States, sending money home is not optional. It is a lifeline. Remittances help support parents and grandparents, pay school fees, cover medical expenses, and assist friends and relatives through difficult times. Beginning January 1st, 2026, a new 1% federal excise tax will apply to certain international money transfers sent from the U.S., potentially increasing costs for Caribbean diaspora members who send money home using cash-based remittance services. The tax was approved by Congress in July 2025 as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and is outlined in Section 44E75 of the Internal Revenue Code. Under guidance issued by the Internal Revenue Service, the tax applies only to remittances funded with cash or cash-like physical instruments, not to digital or bank-based transfers. What's changing in 2026? Until now, sending money abroad typically involved transfer fees and exchange rates, but no U.S. federal tax. That changes in 2026. PBS NewsHour report on it is exceedingly rare that a U.S. president would announce covert action publicly, but that is what President Trump did yesterday when he acknowledged a strike on a port facility in Venezuela. And today, media outlets reported it was the CIA that launched the drone strike on an alleged drug facility. It comes as the Trump administration is targeting not only drug smugglers across the region, but also Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro himself.
For months, the U.S. has built up the Caribbean's largest armada in half a century. 30 strikes on what the U.S. calls narco-terrorist drug boats, the latest in the Eastern Pacific just last night. The capture of 2 sanctioned Venezuelan oil tankers and the chasing of a third tanker that today reportedly requested Russian protection. And today, news the CIA reportedly launched a drone strike along the Venezuelan coast. The reported target, a storage facility operated by the transnational gang Tren de Aragua, which the Trump administration connects without public evidence to Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro.
There was a major explosion in the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs. They load the boats up with drugs, so we hit all the boats, and now we hit the area. It's the implementation area. That's where they implement. And that is no longer around.
If the amount of drug trafficking comes down significantly in the Caribbean, and I think it must, the regime is going to have a lot less money to throw around.
Elliot Abrams was the first Trump administration's special envoy for Venezuela and is today a senior fellow for the Council on Foreign Relations. He supports the pressure campaign that is targeting Venezuela's chief source of revenue as a way to weaken Maduro's grip on power and force him to step down.
The economy of Venezuela will get worse, and the finances of the Maduro regime will get worse, and that will increase public pressure and internal pressure in the regime. That at some point there are either mass demonstrations or somebody in the military acts, or the regime basically decides, we don't know how far Trump is willing to go with this. Let's make a deal now.
But the administration's critics argue the pressure campaign's tactics are illegal and its goals are imperialist.
It's straightforward territorial intervention. It's the kind of thing that was characteristic of the United States in the Caribbean region back in the beginnings of the 20th century.
Daniel Hellinger is a Webster University professor emeritus who says Maduro is not the threat that the U.S. alleges.
I don't think he's sort of the kingpin that they're trying to portray him to be. Venezuela does not traffic in fentanyl to any significant degree, and that most of what comes out of Venezuela is more likely to be marijuana or cocaine, and even that doesn't even come towards the United States.
Imagine us people.
Maduro himself this week has been trying to laugh or sing past the pressure, in between boasts and bravado.
Our military have a glorious history as emancipating, humanist, invincible warriors. Today, our armed forces are more prepared than ever to continue winning peace, sovereignty, and territorial integrity for our people.
And opponents of the Trump administration's policy predict that if Maduro is ousted, there'll be chaos.
Venezuela is a heavily armed society in the civilian sector. There are going to be parts of the Venezuelan military that will retreat into guerrilla warfare. And there's just a very dense population in Caracas where crime is a serious problem, and there's lots of firearms around. So it'll get messy.
The warnings that there will be civil war in Venezuela and massive amounts of violence, I think, are wrong. That if Maduro falls, Edmundo Gonzalez, who was elected last year, will become president. And the opposition is planning for that right now and planning for what a democratic transition will look like. As long as the Maduro regime is there, we are not going to get its cooperation in reducing drug trafficking. You're going to see the continuing flow of migrants, 8 million now, and there's no reason that it can't go to 9 or 10 or 12 million over the coming years. And you're going to see continuing cooperation between the regime and Cuba, Iran, Russia, China.
Maduro has not acknowledged the alleged CIA strike, perhaps to avoid further escalation. But more confrontation is coming, as the U.S. is promising more pressure.
We end our newscast. The Positive Foundation and the Electoral Yates Foundation have been named the Daily Herald's Persons of the Year for 2025 in recognition of their sustained, measurable, and community-driven impact on men's health, particularly prostate cancer awareness, education, and early detection on St. Martin. Throughout the year, the two foundations intensified their Man Up Checkup campaign, screening hundreds of men, breaking long-standing taboos surrounding prostate cancer, and creating safe spaces for open discussion about men's physical and mental health. Their work reached men across generations, backgrounds, and insurance status, combining direct medical access with education, advocacy, and follow-up care. A cornerstone of the Foundation's 2025 efforts was the successful hosting of multiple free prostate cancer screening events, carried out in collaboration with St. Martin Laboratory Services, SLS, St. Martin Medical Center, SMMC, Napa Auto Parts, Collective Prevention Services, CPS, and the St. Martin Lions Club. More than 300 men were screened during two major events, with a total of 312 men receiving prostate-specific antigen PSA tests. On September 13th alone, 177 men participated. The screenings were held at both Napa Auto Parts locations in Phillipsburg and Coal Bay, intentionally chosen to provide a familiar, non-threatening environment where men could feel comfortable taking the first step toward prioritizing their health. Fathers and sons, brothers and friends showed up together, underscoring the community-wide reach of the initiative. For uninsured men, the Positive and Electoral Yates Foundations, in partnership with SLS, covered the cost of PSA testing, ensuring that financial barriers did not stand in the way of early detection. The Foundation's man-to-man approach, reinforced by the now widely recognized slogan, Man Up and Check Up, continued to challenge stigma and normalize conversations around prostate cancer and men's health. Congratulations on naming the Positive Foundation and the Electoral Yates Foundation, Mercedes Electra, Van der Waals Wyatt, and Shelley Alfonso as Persons of the Year by the Daily Herald. This is our SXM Daily Newscast. Thank you for joining us.